The night was supposed to be a celebration. A night of joy, laughter, and a well-deserved drink after years of hard work. My promotion at the firm was a big deal, not just for me, but for both of us. Emma had always said she wanted me to succeed, that my success was our success. And yet, as I stood in the middle of the crowded living room, glass in hand, I felt a creeping sense of unease. Emma was acting strange. Not in a way that anyone else would notice. She still laughed at jokes, still clinked glasses with our friends, but I could see it. The way her eyes darted across the room. The way she barely touched me all evening. The way she kept glancing at someone in the corner. Then it happened. I was mid-conversation when her voice rang out, cutting through the noise like a blade. "Jake? Oh please, don't feel bad for him. He's a cuckold. And he doesn't even know it." Silence. Every conversation in the room died at once. Dozens of eyes turned toward me. My heart slammed against my ribs, confusion twisting into something much worse. Humiliation. I turned to her, hoping, praying that this was some kind of twisted joke. But she wasn't laughing. She was smirking. And then, right in front of everyone, she reached out, grabbed the wrist of a tall, muscular man I barely recognized, and pulled him toward the door. "Come on, Tommy. Let's get out of here." And just like that, she left. I stood there, frozen, as whispers spread like wildfire through the crowd. Some people looked away awkwardly. Others stared at me, waiting for a reaction. But I had none. My mind had gone blank. My wife had just humiliated me in front of everyone we knew, and walked away with another man. Minutes passed, maybe hours. I didn't even know how I got home. The party, the voices, the stares. All of it blurred into nothing. I sat alone in the dark, a drink in my shaking hand, replaying the moment over and over in my mind, trying to make sense of it. Then my phone rang. Emma. I let it ring, but she didn't give up. I stared at the screen, rage and heartbreak battling inside me, until finally, curiosity won. I answered. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. "Hey, I love you. Are you okay?" I didn't say a word, because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I had no idea who my wife really was. I didn't sleep that night. The apartment was eerily quiet, except for the occasional hum of a passing car outside. The clock on the wall ticked away the hours, but I barely noticed. My mind was trapped in an endless loop, replaying Emma's words, her smirk, the way she had walked out with him like I was nothing. He's a cuckold, and he doesn't even know it. I stared at my phone, the call log still open. Emma had tried calling 3 more times. I hadn't answered. What the hell did she want? What was I supposed to say? "I love you. Are you okay?" What kind of twisted joke was that? Was she mocking me? Did she think she could just walk back into my life after what she did? The air in the apartment felt suffocating. Every piece of furniture, every framed photo on the wall, every little thing that had once made this place feel like home. Now it felt like a graveyard of memories. Fake memories. Lies. I walked to the kitchen, poured myself a drink. My hands were shaking. The amber liquid burned my throat, but it didn't help. Nothing could. I thought back to the party. The way people had looked at me. Some with pity, some with amusement, some pretending they hadn't heard anything at all. I wasn't even angry at them. I was angry at myself. How had I not seen this coming? How long had this been going on? Had they all known before I did? I grabbed my phone again, hovered over Emma's name. I wanted answers. I wanted to scream at her, demand to know why she had done this to me. But I knew I wouldn't get the truth. Not from her. Instead, I opened my laptop. My fingers hesitated over the keyboard before I typed his name. Tommy. I barely knew anything about him. Just that he was younger, stronger, the kind of guy who probably never worried about things like loyalty or commitment. A personal trainer at some gym across town. A nobody. And yet, he had taken my wife from me like it was the easiest thing in the world. No, she had given herself to him. That was the part that hurt the most. The screen blurred as my vision clouded with rage. My own wife had betrayed me, humiliated me, and then called me like nothing had happened. Like I was still the same man she had married. But I wasn't. Not anymore. Morning came, but it didn't bring clarity. It brought exhaustion, a pounding headache, and the bitter taste of last night's whiskey still clinging to my tongue. The apartment was a mess. Bottles, an overturned chair, my phone lying face down on the floor where I must have thrown it at some point. But I didn't care. None of it mattered. The only thing that mattered now was the truth. I sat at my desk, staring at the search results for Tommy's name. His social media was exactly what I expected. Shallow, self-obsessed, filled with gym selfies and motivational quotes about grinding every day and being your best self. He had that cocky smirk in every photo, the kind that made me want to put my fists through the screen. Then I found it, his workplace, Titan Gym. It was only a 20-minute drive from here. I clenched my jaw, debating. Was I really about to do this? Was I really about to walk into this guy's gym just to, what? Confront him? Start a fight? Demand he tell me what my own wife wouldn't? I didn't know. But I grabbed my keys anyway. The gym was exactly what I expected: loud music, walls plastered with posters of shredded men lifting obscene amounts of weight, the stench of sweat and testosterone thick in the air. I stepped inside, keeping my head down, scanning the room. And then I saw him, Tommy. He was spotting some guy at the bench press, his muscular arms flexing as he shouted words of encouragement. He looked exactly like the type of guy who would sleep with another man's wife and not feel an ounce of guilt about it. I took a deep breath and walked toward him. Tommy, he turned, confused at first. Then his expression changed, recognition flickering in his eyes. But there was no guilt, no shame, just mild amusement. Hey man, can I help you? I stared at him, my hands clenching into fists at my sides. This was the guy? This was who she threw everything away for? You know who I am, I said, my voice low. He tilted his head, pretending to think. Then, with a smirk, he said, "Oh, right, Emma's husband." My stomach twisted into knots. He said it so casually, like my entire marriage was just some inside joke between him and my wife. How long? I asked, forcing the words out. He shrugged. Couple months, maybe more. Honestly, I don't keep track. It was just a bit of fun. Just a bit of fun. I saw red. My vision blurred. I don't even remember throwing the first punch. All I remember is the sound of my fist connecting with his jaw, the sharp crack of impact, and the satisfying moment when his smirk finally disappeared. The moment my fist connected with Tommy's jaw, time seemed to slow. His head snapped back, eyes wide in shock, and for a brief second, I felt something close to satisfaction. But it didn't last. People around us reacted instantly: shouts, the clatter of weights hitting the floor, someone grabbing my arms from behind, pulling me away before I could swing again. Tommy stumbled back, touching his split lip, then looked at me and laughed. Laughed. "Damn, man," he said, wiping blood from his mouth. "No wonder she got bored of you." I lunged at him again, but the guys holding me back were stronger. Someone was yelling for security. I barely processed what was happening as they dragged me outside and threw me into the cold morning air. The gym doors slammed shut behind me. My breathing was ragged, my hands still shaking from the adrenaline. I had never been a violent man. Never the kind of guy who threw punches over something as stupid as jealousy. But this wasn't jealousy. This was rage. This was betrayal. This was my wife. By the time I got home, the anger had settled into something colder, something sharper. Tommy wasn't the problem. He was nothing. The real problem was Emma. She was the one who had lied to me, the one who had humiliated me, the one who still, somehow, had the audacity to call me and say, "I love you." I needed to know the full truth. I sat down at her desk. The same desk where she worked late nights, where she planned vacations for us, where she always kept her laptop. Password protected, of course. I had never had a reason to check before. Now I did. I tried the obvious passwords first: her birthday, our wedding anniversary. Nothing. Then I tried his name. Tommy. The screen unlocked. A sick feeling crawled up my spine. I opened her messages first. What I found made my stomach turn. There were hundreds of texts. Messages that stretched back months. Conversations that painted a completely different picture of our marriage. I can't wait to see you again. Jake is so boring these days. Last night was incredible. I don't know why I stayed with him for so long. He has no idea. It's actually kind of sad. My hands clenched the laptop so hard I thought I might break it. But I kept scrolling. The texts weren't even the worst part. There were pictures, videos. I slammed the laptop shut, bile rising in my throat. I had spent years believing that Emma was my partner, my best friend, the one person in the world I could trust. And the entire time, she had been laughing at me behind my back. I took a deep breath, forced myself to focus. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to scream or cry. No, I was going to make her regret every single second of what she had done. I sat in silence, the weight of the truth crushing down on me like a collapsing building. My wife, no Emma, had been lying to me for months. The proof was right there. In every disgusting text, every smug little message, every goddamn video she had shared with him. I thought back to all the nights she had come home late, saying she had to work overtime. All the mornings she had left early, claiming she had meetings. All the times she had been on her phone, smirking at something she refused to show me. It was all him. I wasn't some unlucky husband who got cheated on. No, it was worse than that. She hadn't just betrayed me. She had mocked me. To him, to herself, probably even to our friends. And yet, she still called me. I love you. Are you okay? Like nothing had happened. Like I was still the fool she thought I was. But I wasn't. Not anymore. I waited for her to come home. I didn't call her. Didn't text her. I wanted to see how long it would take for her to reach out. It didn't take long. An hour later, my phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Hey babe, are you okay? I was worried when you didn't answer last night. Can we talk? I stared at the message, disgust curling in my stomach. Can we talk? She wanted to talk. After everything she had done, after everything I had seen, she wanted to talk. I typed back 2 words. Come home. She walked through the door an hour later, dressed in her usual work clothes, blazer, pencil skirt, heels, looking every bit the polished, put-together woman she had always been. But I saw her differently now. She wasn't my wife anymore. She was a stranger, a liar. Jake, she breathed, setting her bag down. I cut her off. How long? She blinked. What? How long have you been screwing him? Her mouth opened, then shut. She looked away, licking her lips like she was trying to find the right words. Like the truth was something she could dress up, make prettier. Jake, don't lie to me. I already know. A flicker of something crossed her face. Fear? Guilt? Or maybe just irritation that I had figured it out. It wasn't serious, she said finally. It was just fun. I finished for her. My voice was cold, empty. She flinched. Jake, I never meant to hurt you. I laughed. Actually laughed. It was the ugliest sound I had ever made. You called me a cuckold. In front of everyone. Then you left with him. And you want me to believe you never meant to hurt me? She had the nerve to look offended. I was drunk. I wasn't thinking. But when you sent him texts about how pathetic I am, how boring I've become, were you drunk then too? Her face drained of color. I saw it then, the realization that I knew everything. For the first time, the mask cracked. And I saw her for who she truly was. A liar. A coward. A fraud. And I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Emma's face was pale, her perfectly polished facade crumbling before my eyes. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. For the first time, she didn't have an excuse, a lie, or some manipulative half-truth ready to throw at me. Good. I wanted her to feel this. I wanted her to drown in the same humiliation, the same betrayal she had fed me for months. I leaned back in my chair, my voice calm. You look surprised, Emma. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? That I wouldn't check your laptop? Her breath hitched, her hands clenched at her sides. You? Yeah, I know everything. I let that hang in the air, watching her squirm. The texts, the videos, the little jokes you made at my expense. Hell, I even know your laptop password. You made it his name. That's how little you respected me. Her mouth opened, but I wasn't finished. So tell me, Emma, was it fun? Laughing at me? Sleeping with him while coming home and kissing me like nothing happened? Did it make you feel powerful? Her face twisted in pain, but I had no sympathy left. Jake, please. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? My voice was sharp now, demanding. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you spent months making me a joke. I need to hear you say it, Emma. Tell me the truth for once. She swallowed hard, her lip trembling. Then finally she broke. I don't know, she burst out. I don't know why I did it. I felt like something was missing, and I thought, missing? I repeated, my stomach twisting. What the hell was missing, Emma? You had me. You had a husband who loved you. You had a home, a life, everything we built together. And you threw it away. For what? A guy who lifts weights and has an ego the size of Texas. Her eyes filled with tears, but I wasn't going to let them sway me. Not anymore. I never stopped loving you, Jake, she whispered. I swear to God, I still love you. I shook my head, laughing bitterly. You don't get to say that. Love isn't lying. Love isn't cheating. Love isn't calling your husband a cuckold in front of an entire room of people and then walking out with your lover. She wiped her tears away, her breathing shaky. I made a mistake. I slammed my hand on the table. No, Emma. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. A mistake is burning dinner. You made a choice. Over and over and over again. She flinched, her tears falling freely now. But I didn't feel pity. I didn't feel anything for her anymore. So now what? I asked, leaning forward. You want me to forgive you? Pretend none of this happened? Let you crawl back into our bed after you spent months in his? She shook her head rapidly, panic flashing in her eyes. No, I just don't want to lose you. I stared at her, my chest hollow. Emma, you lost me the moment you walked out that door. Silence. She broke. I watched as she crumbled, sobbing into her hands, her body shaking with the weight of her own choices. For the first time, she was the one feeling powerless. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. I had one last move to make. Emma sat across from me, her shoulders shaking, her breath uneven. The woman who had once carried herself with so much confidence, so much control, was now falling apart right in front of me. Good. But tears weren't enough. Apologies weren't enough. Nothing she could say would erase what she had done. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. You don't want to lose me? I repeated, my voice eerily calm. Then tell me, Emma, what exactly do you expect me to do? Just pretend I didn't see those messages? That I didn't read every disgusting thing you said about me while you were screwing him? She looked at me with desperate, pleading eyes. No, Jake, She exhaled sharply, her hands clenching together like she was trying to hold herself together. I don't know. I don't know what I expect. I love you, and I don't want to lose you. I let out a slow, humorless chuckle. You love me, I repeated, tilting my head. Funny way of showing it. Did you tell Tommy you loved me before or after you let him fuck you? She flinched like I had slapped her. Silence. For the first time, she had nothing to say. No excuses. No justifications. Just silence. I pushed my chair back, standing up. That's what I thought. She followed me as I walked to the bedroom. Jake, please. Just talk to me. We can fix this. Fix this. I scoffed, grabbing my suitcase from the closet. Emma, we're past fixing. You didn't just cheat on me. You humiliated me. You laughed at me behind my back. You let that asshole think he was better than me. Hell, you let the whole damn world see what you think of me. Her breath hitched. I don't think that, Jake. I never did. I spun around. Then why did you say it? Why did you call me a cuckold in front of all those people? She froze. I nodded. Yeah, that's what I thought. I packed my bag methodically, feeling nothing as I threw clothes into it. Emma stood in the doorway, crying, whispering my name over and over like it would change anything. Don't go, she begged. Please, Jake. I'll do anything. I'll go to therapy. I'll cut him off. I zipped up my suitcase, cutting her off. I don't care what you do, Emma. Do whatever the hell you want. You made your choices. Now I'm making mine. Her face crumpled, and she dropped to her knees. Jake, please. I'll do anything. I can't lose you. I sighed, looking down at her. You already did. Then I walked out. She didn't follow me. For the first time in this entire mess, Emma was the one left behind. And I didn't look back. I didn't look back when I left. Not once. Even as I heard Emma's sobs echoing down the hallway, I didn't falter. Couldn't. She didn't deserve my hesitation. She didn't deserve my doubt. The drive away from the apartment was the longest of my life. Every minute felt like an eternity. The familiar streets, the neon signs, the places we used to visit together, they all seemed to mock me now. I had built a life with this woman. A life I thought was strong. A life I thought was real. But none of it had been real. I arrived at a small, cheap hotel an hour later. The fluorescent lights buzzed above me, casting a sickly glow as I checked in. I didn't care about the hotel. I didn't care about anything, really. All I cared about was the pit in my stomach that kept growing larger with every passing second. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the phone in my hand. It was silent, dead silent. No messages, no calls. Not from Emma, not from anyone. I had expected her to call, beg, scream, do anything to try to get me back. But nothing came, not a word. And that, more than anything else, hit harder than anything she had ever said or done. The silence was deafening. The next day, I didn't hear from her either. Not until late in the evening. I had been sitting in the same hotel room for hours, replaying every moment, every conversation, everything she had done. Then my phone buzzed. It was Emma. Jake, please. I've been calling you. I need to talk to you. Please answer. I stared at the message for a long time, my finger hovering over the screen. The part of me that still loved her, or thought I did, wanted to pick up, to hear her voice, to hear some new lie, some new excuse. But I couldn't. I had already heard enough. I didn't reply. I didn't need to hear her apologies anymore. I didn't need the empty promises. I was done. For the next few days, I stayed in the hotel. I ignored all of Emma's calls. I ignored her texts. I was done being her safety net, done being the guy she could always return to after she had her fun with someone else. The silence between us grew. It was loud. It was crushing. And yet, I felt something. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. I wasn't trying to fix her mistakes. I wasn't trying to mend the pieces of a life that had never been whole. I wasn't chasing after something that had never existed in the first place. I was just breathing. And for the first time in months, I felt like I was starting to remember who I was again. A week passed. Emma's calls had slowed down, but they hadn't stopped. Every day, I received another message, another desperate attempt to get me to pick up. She was sending paragraphs now, apologies mixed with promises. She told me she would change, that she had made a mistake she would never repeat. But I didn't believe her anymore. Not after everything. I had spent years with her, giving her everything I had, only for her to destroy it in the blink of an eye. Every ounce of trust one had ever given her, gone in a moment. She had shattered the foundation of our marriage, and now no amount of crying or begging would fix it. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about her. That's the thing about love, isn't it? Even when you know it's over, it still hurts. But I wasn't going to let her back in. Couldn't. One afternoon, a message popped up. Not from Emma. From Tommy. Hey man, I don't know what's going on with you and Emma, but I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. My heart skipped a beat. I stared at the screen for a moment, confused. Sorry? He was the one who had slept with my wife. He was the one who had humiliated me. What the hell was he sorry for? I opened the message. I know this isn't right, and I didn't want to be the one to hurt you, but I think it's best you know, Emma's been seeing someone else too. This wasn't just a fling. It's been going on for months. I didn't mean to get caught up in it. She's been lying to both of us. I stared at the screen, my mind racing. Someone else? How many times had she betrayed me? How many lies had she been spinning behind my back? I felt a pit in my stomach, my hands trembling. The betrayal I had already felt, the hurt from her affair, seemed trivial now. I wasn't just a victim of her cheating. I had been a fool for believing she was faithful at all. Tommy wasn't the only one who had been hurt. I was the one who had been living a lie. The weight of the truth crushed me. Emma had never been loyal. Not to me. Not to anyone. She had played us both, and she had played me for a fool. I felt sick. Sick not just for what she had done, but for how blind I had been to it all. The rage came back, burning in my chest. I slammed my phone down, pacing the small hotel room. I wanted to confront her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to make her understand how deeply she had hurt me. But then, something inside me snapped. No, I wasn't going to let her have this power over me anymore. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me or make me feel small. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me hurt. I was done. I could feel the weight of everything. Every broken promise, every false smile, every word Emma had ever spoken to me, crushing down on me. But the anger wasn't as sharp anymore. It had evolved into something else, something more dangerous. It wasn't rage. It wasn't sorrow. It was nothing. The worst thing about being betrayed isn't just the anger. It's the emptiness that follows. When you give someone your heart, your trust, your everything, and they just throw it all away, it leaves a hollow space inside you. And no matter how many times you try to fill it, you never can. But I wasn't going to be her victim anymore. I wasn't going to let her take any more of me. It had been 2 weeks since I'd left. 2 weeks since I'd cut her out completely. And in that time, I had learned something. I didn't need her. I never did. I was finally free. The next day, I packed my things again. I didn't need the hotel anymore. I had a life to rebuild, and I was going to do it without Emma. But before I left, I did one thing. I sent her a final message. I know about Tommy, and I know about the other guy. You've been lying to me this whole time. You've been using me, playing me, and I was too stupid to see it. But I'm done. Don't contact me again. I don't care about your excuses or your apologies. This is over. I didn't expect a reply. I didn't want one. I just wanted her to know that I had finally taken control of my life. The silence after that was almost deafening. She didn't call. She didn't text. It was over. And somehow it felt like a weight had been lifted. I spent the next few days in complete isolation. I didn't speak to anyone, not even friends. I needed time to think, to process everything, to figure out who I was without her in my life. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Slowly, I started to rebuild. I found joy in the small things again, like going for long walks by myself, reading books I had forgotten about, even starting to work on a project I had abandoned. For the first time in months, I felt alive. And with each passing day, I realized that Emma had never been the source of my happiness. I had been. 2 months later, I was sitting at a coffee shop, sipping on a cup of coffee. I was staring out the window, watching people go by, when I saw her. Emma. She was standing across the street, her hair perfect as always, dressed in a white dress, the one she used to wear on special occasions. Her gaze caught mine, and for a brief moment, I saw her hesitate. But then she looked away. She didn't approach. She didn't say anything. She just kept walking. And I couldn't help but smile, because I realized that I had finally let go. I had finally moved on. It's strange how life has a way of showing you what really matters, even when you think it's all falling apart. After everything, I thought I'd never be able to pick up the pieces. I thought the pain would stay with me forever, a constant reminder of how easily someone can betray you. But I was wrong. I had spent months drowning in the lies Emma told me, and when I finally broke free, I realized that I had spent too much time focusing on her. The person who left. The person who didn't value me. The person who took everything I gave her and used it for her own selfish needs. But I wasn't going to waste any more time on someone who wasn't worth it. It was time to focus on myself. I threw myself into work. I picked up hobbies I'd forgotten about. I reconnected with old friends I hadn't seen in years. Slowly, life started to feel like it had some meaning again. I could breathe without that heavy weight in my chest. I started dating again. Not seriously, just casual. But for the first time in a long time, I wasn't looking for someone to fill the void Emma had left. I was looking for someone who could stand beside me, someone who could share my life without tearing it apart. And I found her. Her name is Sarah, and she's everything Emma wasn't. She's kind, honest, and, most importantly, she's real. There are no games, no lies, no manipulation. It's just simple. I don't know what the future holds for us, but for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful. I see now that the betrayal wasn't the end of me. It was the beginning of a new chapter. And as for Emma, I don't know where she is. I don't know if she's found the happiness she was looking for. I don't care, because I've moved on. And that's the only thing that matters now. The end. What do you think? Ready to share your thoughts? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. You never know what's coming next.